and welcome to Ask an Author. Today I am really excited because I have one of the most fun cosplay people in my author circle. I'm so excited. Lynne Stringer, welcome.
Thank you, Michelle. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much. Now, cosplay is not something that I knew a lot about until I met you. And then I've seen how that you've integrated with your books, and I'm just so excited to talk to you today and find out a little bit more about you and the process that you go through to write your books. But it's not all about me. I've actually had some kids send in some questions that I'd like to ask you. So are you brave enough to answer some questions from the kids?
Oh, yes, I think I am.
Good. I knew you would be because you are very brave. So, Archie wanted to know, did you like kids? Did you like books when you were a kid?
Oh, yes. I was the child who sat in the corner of the library while everyone was running around madly chatting, and I'd be sitting in the corner like this because I had my nose in a book all the time and would regularly spend my entire lunch hours in the library. I was even so geeky enough to be a library monitor when I was in school. That's how bad it was.
Wow, I never made it to library monitor.
Oh,
That
I
was
really
like,
was very proud.
oh, you should be. That's awesome. And Remy's read a couple of your books, and she wants to know, how do you get the ideas for your books?
Oh, it's really odd. I mean, the idea for the book that became the Heir was something that I was on holidays. We were going up to the Sunshine Coast with my family, and my son, who was very small at the time, had fallen asleep. And my husband, he likes really weird pickup lines, not to use them on people, but just because he thinks they're funny. And so he was saying all these funny ones that he heard. So, oh, you should hear this one, isn't it terrible? And I'm going, I've got to think of something. What am I going to say? I've got to think of one. And the only one I could think of was the one where the guy says to the girl, "You were the only reason I was put on this planet." And I thought, well, that's pretty lame. And I imagined a guy saying that to a girl, and she went, "Yeah, right." And the guy looked at her and said, "No, you are the reason I was put on this planet." And he meant it literally. And so I started going, oh, what does that mean? Why would he do that? Why would he say something like that? And the whole holiday, we were up there for about a week, I was on the Sunshine Coast, but my mind was on another planet as I started to just make up this world. And I remember very clearly, because that line is in the book, and almost immediately it entered my head that he was saying it to a girl and they were in a shed somewhere. It was dark and she was scared. And I knew that that was what happened. No idea of anything else. And so the book just sort of grew out of that. And it was a very strange experience because sometimes I'll sit down and go, oh gosh, I mean, my publisher actually said to me not long ago, it would be a really good idea to write a story after the trilogy, that's set after the trilogy. And I said, I don't have any ideas. But as soon as she said that, straight away something entered my mind and it just started going. And I have now written a manuscript which I'm currently editing. So honestly, sometimes I wonder where things come from. Something will spark at something, someone says something I think, and it'll just suddenly explode into something around me. And it's very strange at times to wonder where these things come from.
It's amazing. And it sounds like you do a lot of writing in your head before you actually, yeah.
I'm not one to do outlines. Some authors love doing outlines. I usually have a fairly good outline in my head, but I don't write it down. I don't start to write until the story must be released through my hands into the keyboard. That's when I know that it's ready to go. And so and my first drafts then can be a little messy, but I'm trying and refine it on the page, but I always I always know where I'm headed.
That's amazing. Austin wants to know, do you, out of your characters, do you have a favorite character that you've written?
Oh, that's so hard because I love them all in many ways. I love Sarah because she's a lot like me, and that was deliberate. I pretty much based her on myself it was easier, especially with the first protagonist. That's the main character, to base her on me. But I love Verindon too. In the latest book, Vashta and Verindon, I both love. I love Lorinda. I love pretty much all of Vashta's sisters. Probably the character who took me most by surprise, though, was Hegetus. Hegetus is actually extremely dangerous, but everybody seems to absolutely adore him. And he's kind of, he almost sits on my shoulder at times, because he is a highly trained assassin. So he's definitely not the kind of guy you want to hang around with, but he very much likes to rule, and still will make his presence felt in what I'm writing, even if he's not in the book. So it's an interesting experience to have with a character.
Wow, that's so interesting to hear you explain it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mika wants to know, do you have a favorite book that got turned into a movie?
Oh, I've got a few, actually. One of the books I grew up reading, I was a bit older, I was probably in my 20s when I read it, was Jane Eyre. And I actually, that was one of the few books I adore that I saw. Oh no, I tell a lie, there are other books that I adore that I saw as a movie first. I remember seeing the 1944 version with Orson Welles and Joan Fontaine, and I thought, wow, that's an interesting story. It's a book, give it to me. So
that was the black and white version.
Yes, it was the black and white version. We're not afraid of black and white movies in our house. So I saw, my brother once had a kick where he got the earliest movie, a silent movie that he could find, started there and read and watched every movie he could find across the years. So Jane Eyre was in there at that time, and I saw it then. And so I saw that, and also another one was The Scarlet Pimpernel, which I actually saw a TV movie for first, and that became a favorite book. I think those are the only two where I saw the movie first, but yeah, there are heaps of others that have become books since. I love seeing, because movies and books are different as far as mediums go and the way you write them. But, I love seeing things in my head like a movie. So if I really enjoy a book, I can see it like that, even if it hasn't been made yet. So I'm always very keen if a book I like is going to be made into a movie. It's like, oh, will they get it right? Will that character be like I want them to be? So it's often a very tense wait when that happens.
I agree. It's almost like, please don't disappoint me.
Yeah, don't wreck it.
Don't wreck it for me. Diego wants to know, do you have a favorite cosplay that you like to dress up as?
Well, because I usually go as my characters from my books. I usually go as Sarah. Of course, she's a leader, so she has a crown and a very beautiful long flowing dress, which my mother-in-law made for me. She's a seamstress, and it's absolutely brilliant because I can't do that. So she does that. She's the only one I've really done so far, but I love seeing what everyone else has got on it, and they sell things there. And honestly, I want to make a story with a character with a bow and arrow just so I can buy one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and those steampunk kind of leather thing. Oh, I want one of those. So it's like, what story can I make up that's got those in it, just so I can wear the outfit? That would be fun, because I love dressing up. It's my favorite, one of my favorite things to do. And these days, you never get the opportunity to do that unless you cosplay at one of these events. So yeah, I'm all for it, making lots more costumes and things. I'm just trying to think how I could do one for Vashta, because being a pilot, and what I could incorporate into that. I'll have to see what I can find, because it'd be nice to have a few different costumes I can wear each day.
Yes. Oh, and I definitely need you to write the book with the character with the bow and arrow.
Yeah, I'd love to. Although
I need to dress up as that.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just because they actually sell them at these places too, realistic looking ones, but not exactly real. Yeah. And I'm constantly going, wow. I want a what's it called? A quiver. Yes. A quiver like that. And oh gosh, I just want to be able to go, Oh, that'd be so cool.
And
So maybe I'll do that soon.
Yes, I'm putting in my order. Yes, please. Charlotte wants to know, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, now there's an interesting story. When I was 3, I decided I wanted to be an actress. When I was 4, I decided I wanted to be a writer. When I was 5, I decided I wanted to be a hairdresser, but we didn't go there. But acting stayed with me pretty much all my life. Writing was there too, but there was always, that was just, it was because I wrote my first book when I was 8. It wasn't very long or very good, but I remember as a teenager, my father bought me a typewriter because this was before computers, although we did get a computer when I was about 15. So I would sit on the typewriter just typing out novels and stories and things for hours. So writing was always a part of what I did. My father is also a writer, but he became a writer when I was about 14, and I knew it didn't earn a living. Of course, I quickly discovered that acting wasn't great for that either. But and I didn't have the confidence to try and go for that. I did a lot of dramas and musicals as well in my church, which I was part of at the time, for years. And so that was sort of where I got my fix in that area. But I realized from that my passion has always been to tell stories. It just depends what kind of story it is. So if acting I couldn't do, well, writing then became easier because I could just do it at home, and I could control everything that I was imagining. So and I was always making up stories. You know, I look back now, and I would spend a lot of time in my room playing movie soundtracks, just making up scenes and acting them out of these things that I created. And I did that for hours and hours and hours at a time. So it was always something that I wanted to do. I never really wanted to do anything else.
That's amazing that you followed those dreams and you stuck to it. Like, that's not easy.
No, it's and it was hard because you couldn't earn a living at that. So of course I had to go and get a job. And oh gosh, the amount of days I can remember slogging through working in a bookstore, which was okay, but you know, it was still dealing with customers, then working in an office, and you're just sitting there and you're doing what you're doing, and your mind's going, where can I go in my head? But you've got to earn money. So at least being a professional editor now, I get to kind of combine the two.
Yes, that's awesome. That's a nice career diversion, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Okay, so here's a bit of a curly one. Reese wants to know, what are you scared of?
What am I scared of? Oh, everything. I'm a big scaredy cat. I don't watch horror or anything like that, or anything really violent, because I just can't handle. I'm scared of, at the moment, flying. I'm scared of the ocean, if you're out deep in it anyway. Oh yeah, you name it, I'm scared. Anything that's sort of unknown or represents something that I can't control particularly. I'm a control freak. And if I can't control it, it causes me some angst.
Oh yes, yeah. I have got one of my boys very similar to that. So I totally understand where you're coming from. And here's a question from me, okay? What do you think is the best part about what you do?
I think probably the best part is when someone else has read one of my stories and loves the characters, when they become involved in the world I've created, and you know, it's like, wow, this is amazing, I love Sarah, I can so relate to her, or it's such a fantastic world that they do this or that they have this. That's the best bit, really. It's someone else going, this is great, who appreciates it the same way I do.
Finding those kindred spirits.
Absolutely.
And I know there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the world at the moment, and you know, we touched a little bit on that about the anxiety around what we can't control. And I've had Noah send in a question. But when you answer this, I want you to be quite selfish. I want you to think about something personal, not world peace sort of thing. But he wants to know.
I'm not a supermodel, so I'm not going to say world peace.
If you could, yes, I want world peace. If you could change one thing about the world, what would it be?
From a selfish perspective, that's hard. It's very easy to go for the no more hunger, no more pain.
Something for you. What would you choose?
I want my books to be made into movies.
Okay.
that's what I want. I mean, if you could give me something, anything I wanted, that's what I would say.
Of course. Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah.
Oh, one day.
One day. Now, we've got lots of kids watching who are looking at you and are so inspired. If you could offer them one piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't rush.
Okay.
If you want to do this, do not be in a hurry. This is in every step of the way. It's a marathon, not a sprint. The faster you go, the more mistakes you will make. And although making mistakes is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to publishing something you've written, you want to make sure it's the best before it's out there, because once it's out there, it will contribute to your reputation. So you want to make sure that you've got it right before it gets out there, or as right as you can be. There's always going to be people who hate what you do. That's going to happen. I mean, you'll go to your favorite book on Goodreads or Amazon and read all the 1-star reviews. People will not like it because not everyone gels with everything, and that's fine. But so many people publish. Working as a professional editor, especially since I also do work for a self-publishing company also, the amount of times people there have the money to publish, but they say, oh no, I can't afford editing. I mean, I don't need editing. Well, yeah, you do actually, I'm sorry. And that's for everybody. Everybody needs a professional editor. Even I am a professional editor, and I would not let my manuscripts go out there without someone else professional editing it for me, because I'm too close to it to see it objectively. And you need to go through those steps. You need to make sure it's as good as it can be. You need to make sure you've done as much as you can to ensure the success of your book before you put it out there. Because it's those little things that can mean the difference between long-term success and a failure so great that it makes you give up. And you will have failures, but you know, if they're ones where you can still see that you can get somewhere, you can get past them and move on.
Amazing advice. That's just absolute nuggets of gold there. So thank you so much. Now, I'm sure this has probably brought up a lot more questions for aspiring authors. So if the kids have got another question that they would like to ask you, what's the best way that they can get in contact with you?
You can contact me through my website, so that's lynnestringer.com, and Lynne is spelled L-Y-N-N-E, and or send me an email, lynnestringerauthor@gmail.com.
Oh wow, and so you'll answer the kids?
Absolutely, of course I will.
That would be amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. So what I'll do is I'll pop those details in the description, so the kids will have the website and your email address. So if there is something that they would like maybe a bit of advice on, or to ask you a sneaky question about one of your awesome characters, maybe they might be able to do that. But can I just say thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your wisdom with the aspiring authors watching. So thank you, Lynne. I really appreciate it.
That's fine. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. And if you'd like to see some more videos about authors sharing their words of wisdom, make sure you hit the subscribe button and join us for another episode of Ask an Author. Bye, Lynne.
Bye.